is just like amazing.
Phenomenal, isn't it? You know, and again, that's, thank you for that. It segues into what I was going to say about his lyrics.
Right.
They're very poignant lyrics, and I'm very much attracted to the lyrics as well as the beat.
Sure.
So, and I'm one of those people, I can't keep still when I hear music. So
Yeah.
I wanted to interview Ola, and I also had the chance to interview Chuck Israels, who,
Okay.
you know, with Bill Evans.
Right.
So, and he was absolutely fascinating, very gracious. So I interviewed him and some other really, really interesting people. You know, the first guy that really set up the whole live streaming concert system, Claudio, his name will come to me in a minute, but so I like, you know, industry people like what
Sure.
you and I talked about, and
right. So musicians,
so
producers,
yeah,
technical
everything,
end of it, right?
and to be frankly honest, it is handy when you go, hi, I'm the editor-in-chief of Jazz in Europe.
Sure.
And at first they go, the first one I tried it, who the hell's Jazz in Europe, right? And then when you suddenly start talking to people at a higher level or trying to get through to them, and you say, this is the editor-in-chief of Jazz in Europe, and then they say, oh, one moment, please. I'll get, you know, and then you get put on hold, and then you get straight through to who you want to talk to. Then I knew that we were having an impact, and then it's like, would you like to be in? Yeah, please, that'd be great. You know, I'd love to.
Absolutely.
So I set up also Jazz. It was originally Jazz Talk News, but I turned it into Jazz Tribe Network, and I wanted to widen the whole thing because I had this sense about 2 years ago that frankly, with all of the political challenges and problems that were going on, how important all forms of musical genres were to the internal mental well-being of human beings.
Right. Yeah, just reaching out beyond just the music, but also that connection. And then also too, we both have a love of I mean, jazz, but all music. I personally, I know you're the same. I listen to everything. I mean, my you know, playlist is pretty broad. It probably would surprise a lot of folks.
But I was just listening to, you know, the Adagio for Spartacus earlier this evening. You know,
I mean, and I'll listen to rap, and I'll listen to Metallica, and I'll listen to George Benson, and I mean everybody. Like we have a very similar taste for that. But
well, that's another thing we off camera we talked about that, and I think that's one of the other things that we found quite interesting in the parallels of some of our you know, our lives, experiences and choices, and also philosophically. But
so with music tribes and that, you really, I mean, the whole purpose was really to reach beyond just one genre and kind of tie it all together with sort of the human experience, really. I mean,
very much so. So I even had the brand design in my head, and I ended up getting that organized, all the graphics for that, and also having it, you know, basically a clothing brand as well that I've just set up, that also will support the whole idea.
And we'll put a and that's actually the clothing brand thing is really neat. It's neat. The actually the company that we're working with for that is also great because it's print on demand. You don't have to carry a bunch of inventory. And we'll put a link to both the company and also how to find your Music Tribe's clothing page in this
oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it'll be you doing it. So
well, actually, the one I've got on now, if you see there, that Jazz Washes Away the Dust of Everyday Life by Art Blakely with the Jazz in Europe logo. You know, this is a hey, you know, product placement kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's good. I like it.
I guess, you know, but and you know, we sell those for Jazz in Europe as well.
Yeah.
And you know, let people know now I'm planning to do something for you, because again, the whole when you said to me, hey Nigel, I've got this idea called Music Matters, and I'm like, tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the
Yeah.
thing, because I know we're on the same page with a lot of that way of
Mhm.
thinking, and my idea, I mean, obviously with the COVID situation has
Mhm.
affected me personally, working wise, but affected
Yeah.
everybody in a lot of
Yes.
ways. And especially musicians always sort of get a little bit more damaged or challenged in that situation when stuff like this happens.
Yeah.
And my thought was, I'd really like to feature artists, up and coming artists, and everybody, not just that,
Yeah.
manufacturers, labels, and all that kind of thing. And we both have a real passion for that, all aspects, not just who's the popular artist that we want to interview,
No.
because
Yeah.
that's sort of the low hanging fruit. I mean, once you can get access to them, but there's a lot of great people that work really hard every day in the music business to help
Yeah.
support the business that
18
don't.
hours.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, exactly, I mean, podcasters, publishers, writers, people that
Yeah.
don't really get the glory in a way. I think
That's exactly
it's
right.
important to shine the light on them.
I, yeah, when you shared these thoughts with me, I was like, yes, thank you, universe. Because uh, I, truthfully, with everything that's going on, the truth is this virus, uh, whatever you believe, um, it's an enemy that you can't see.
Right.
Even if it was, some people don't think it's real, some people do think it's real. It doesn't, from my point of view, that doesn't really matter. What matters is that it's placed people in a position a lot of the time at home where they've had to really stop and think.
Right.
But of course, what tends to happen with that is the artist, the musician that draws from their inner creative wellspring, and then they have a need to express that out in the world. Then it suddenly they get chopped off at the knees,
Right. And
and
then
they need,
you have to reinvent yourself.
yeah, but they also need outlets like what you're offering,
Right.
so that they can. It's not so much as a performance. It's a bit like, I feel what you're offering is saying to these people, and I'm hope that's what I'm doing with Music Tribes Unite. And the other brand I've got is Music Unites Life, because we're one big family. We live on the same planet, the
Exactly.
same blue ball,
And
right?
a planet that's gotten a lot smaller with the internet
Yeah,
and with social and
yeah. I mean,
so
your time difference and mine is like 8 hours or something, but
yeah.
we communicate, and we're working on various projects together successfully.
Right.
So it just demonstrates those things. But giving an outlet that you are with this whole idea, to me, is very exciting, because it says to all different forms of people within that industry, hey, we haven't forgotten that you're a family member.
Right. And the thing is that a lot of
that's
times
nice to be embraced.
a lot of times folks only think about those people when they see them on TV, and they don't
Yeah,
realize, like, hey, they have lives, they have kids, they have families, they've got to
yeah,
pay their mortgage. No
yeah.
matter, I mean, I had actually a really famous bass player that's globally known. I had that chat with him in Tokyo. We had dinner, and he's like, he goes, I mean, people know me. He goes, but I still have to make a living. I still got to pay my
Yeah,
rent. And I'm like,
yeah.
and that's when when I was working with Cirque in Tokyo, and I'm like, I totally get it. Like
Yeah.
and I've been there. I'm there now, trying to, reinvent myself and what I do and how
Mhm.
you're going to make a living, how you're going to survive. And who knows, you know, how long it's going to take for things to sort of snap back, and they may not snap back to what we know is normal ever. So
I think that I agree with you. I don't think snapping back's ever going to happen,
yeah.
but I think that development and evolution within the music industry as part of the species and life in general
Mhm.
is, whether we like it or not, it's changing. So,
Yeah.
there's the old adage is that you can either be part of the problem or part of the solution.
Right.
And I think if you're solution focused, it at least gives you a little bit of a shot in the arm for your own self-worth, dignity, and respect.
Mhm.
And if you're working with people that also have that same sort of go forward energy, everybody's going to benefit from that, and that's going to impact their mental health in a positive way, their physical health, and give them a mission and a purpose in life.
Yeah.
We all need those things,
That's the thing. I think you need to, I mean, in situations like this, for me, I've recently started just working out every day just to have a place to go for myself, get off the internet, shut all that stuff down, and just sort of, it's really sort of meditation through, the physical activity. But it's important because you've got to have a reason to wake up in the morning, right? You got to have a reason to get out of bed, to go take your shower, to do your thing. And when your working situation has shut down, I mean, that it throws people, we as humans were built to have that routine. And when that routine gets upset, it affects every aspect of our life. And I think, I mean, that's the thing with the Music Matters project that we're doing is like, again, to really give people an opportunity to express themselves. I mean, we're fortunate with some of my partners, which is, Music Crowns and for Love Bass Guitar Music. I mean, we're fortunate to have a lot of followers. It's actually now where I think both those pages alone are up to 7 million, and it's musicians, it's people that have a passion for music, for musical instruments, for all that stuff. But I think that creating a positive outlet, a positive thing, is so important. I mean, just personally, professionally, But what's the future for you as far as Music Tribes and for you personally, what you want to grow?
I think, what we just, to tack on to what we've just talked about everything that's changing, and with Jazz in Europe, I am sort of just stepping back a little bit. Andrew's taking over the full sort of reins and realms, and so I'm having a little bit of what's known as I'm not going, I'm just having a bit of a sabbatical, because I need to self-actualize some of the other things I'm really passionate about.
Right.
And which includes the Music Tribes. Been doing stuff, I've learned a lot about podcasting, and particularly about post-production.
Right.
And I'm actually a bit of a geek anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, the awesome thing about that for me, because we also have our Looking Good, Feeling Great podcast with Dr. Roth, who's a nationally known plastic surgeon, and that's something that we put together. And that's having your skills in that standpoint from that area is such a great help for me. Because that's the world. I've never particularly been a technical guy. As we were setting up our Zoom setup, Nigel realized that even more. But
that's okay. I just sent you some ideas.
yeah, and that's great. The thing is, I mean, for me, and I know you're the same way, as I like to learn. I'm very much a hands-on learner. I'm not so much a book learner. I need to get my hands in there, and that's how I've been as a musician, I guess. But I think the podcasting thing for both of us has been fun. You also have, you're getting more heavily into voiceover. You actually did the voiceover for the intro and outro for Music Matters, which people heard and are going to hear as we finish.
Yeah, I've done, over the years, in fact, when I lived in Vancouver, when sort of the internet was really in its infancy, I had a guy that actually made a lot of money as a young man in the sort of computer industry. And, he's 26 years of age and he's driving around in a Lamborghini and so on and so forth. And then he's getting into website designs and so on, things like that. And he had heard my voice on a computer-based training product that I had developed called the Personal Growth Series. And I had narrated that, and it was all about soft skills training in Canada for new immigrants. And he had, I think it was his father had bought it for a company of about 250 people, contacted me and said, you have a really great voice, and it's English, but it's international. And I said, well, I've lived all over the world. And he said, would you be interested in doing some voice work for me? As an added value service for the websites that I'm building for customers. I said, okay, tell me more. And we came to an agreement financially. And I did I did that on and off for about 5 years as a sort of another something I enjoyed, but it also
It's creative and
I'd see a
fun
thing in my bank account,
for
oh
sure.
wow, another, so um and as you know, a lot of when I worked in immigration over that 15 years, I was also an adult teacher. I've also been on the lecture circuit in front of thousands of people talking.
Right.
And I'm also trained in counseling. So I think that people have said to me that they'd like to hear my voice. And so I decided that, okay, now I feel comfortable. My wife Pia would always say to me, you've got this voice, Nigel, that
I always say I said your voice has gravitas, which is
it's just strange when people say that to me, because inside my head,
right.
It's different. But of course, I also, my wife is my greatest audience in relationship to doing all these different sort of accents and some voices and so on and so forth. And I know it might sound indirectly connected, but it is. But I played Father Christmas a number of years for children, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I wanted to do some work for audio for the blind, and book narration, and maybe including a children's book.
Right.
So because I can just honestly, in my studio, and I've got proper vocal booth with expensive, I do have I'm fortunate enough to have the facilities to buy good equipment, but that's not enough. It's you and your relationship with the microphone, and how how you get.
Well, that's actually, the voiceover thing, and people think, they just think, they hear a commercial. I'm like, no, actually, there's a big art to that. Actually, we talked about, I haven't introduced you yet, but my friend Scott Brick, actually, I went to high school with, and Scott's actually the number one book voice.
He's like royalty.
Yeah, he's one of the top guy in the world, and which is funny, because I didn't really. We actually had a party in Huntington Beach, which is where I'm kind of originally from, and he was there, and I always, he's a nice guy from high school. I didn't really know, and some friends were telling me about that. I'm like, that's pretty neat, because you think about that too. That's opens up. The books on tape opens up a whole world for people that are blind, for people that have certain things, and just even regular people that love that format. It's pretty neat. But
I think it is, and just interconnected to that in my mind, you sent me this wonderful album to check out on YouTube from Muscle Shoals and the famed recording studio. And because you'd had a conversation, and I'll let you talk about that, but I heard their album where they did the version of "You Gotta Serve Somebody." Right, the old Bob Dylan, and wow, what a great, they got Chris Stapleton on it, Willie Nelson, but
Alan Jackson.
The thing is that that's right, but the lyrics are the lyrics are really, really important, and I think
so. If people to mention that, so we went and recorded. I have a good friend Guge, who's an artist from Finland, and we were talking about places to record because he wanted to work on his new album, and we were both huge fans of the documentary film Muscle Shoals. So we were talking about that, and he wanted to fly over anyways. And I said, what we should do is we should go down and record there, because there's so much history. And if people have seen the film, Rick Hall, who is the producer and owner, it's amazing. The people that recorded there, the songs that were recorded there, people should actually go ahead and research that. even songs like "Man Loves a Woman" was recorded there. Aretha had her first hit there, just on and on. And so what's funny, so we went down there and recorded. Rick was actually still alive at that point, the original owner, but he was actually in the hospital. We didn't get a chance to meet him, but we became friends with Rodney Hall, his son. and who's also a great producer and runs the studio. And so we became friends with Rodney, and so that album you're talking about, it's Small Town Big Sound.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, from Fame Recording Studios and Muscle Shoals. And one of the songs is Mustang Sally, which I love their version. And so
Pickett, yeah.
right. And so I actually, the newer version on that album, and I can't think of the artist who sang it.
Oh, Brent Smith.
Right, okay. And
Brentley.
Yeah.
Brentley Smith.
That's it.
What a voice.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Wow.
So anyway, so that Mustang Sally is actually our intro for this Music Matters podcast.
Yeah.
The intro part of it, because it's so good. And actually, we'll put a link up for Fame and Rodney and that thing, and we're thanking them for they allowed us to use that, which is amazing.
Yeah, real privilege.
Yeah, but yeah, that's just, I mean, that whole record. I told Nigel when I heard that record, I was like, it's actually, I mean, not to be overly dramatic, but it's actually life changing. There's so many great. Every song is a little diamond. It's all artists, or mostly artists people would know or recognize, that are doing basically the best of Muscle Shoals tunes.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's
like, it's on your top 5, right? You know.
Yeah, I love that.
List, yeah.
Also, the Muscle Shoals.
If it's not, it should be.
Yeah.
Sorry, if it's not, it should be. You know?
And the Muscle Shoals film soundtrack too is amazing. So anyways, just to get off on that, but
it's not like we are not being paid by these people. It's just we're excited about it.
And they were very kind to let us use that. So moving forward, so we're going to have.
Can I just say one thing about that?
Sure, go ahead. Sorry.
Because I think it's actually a point where everything we talked about tonight, including your conversation with Rodney, is that you're seeking out and working with people within the music industry that have got integrity.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of sharks out there, you know, in the ocean.
I like to, so, for me, like, and then we've had that chat, but I like to surround myself with people that are good people, that are positive people. There's a lot of negativity in the world, and I don't really want to embrace that. I don't always succeed, but I try to avoid that. And I think the thing is, there's a lot of great people out there, and again, like people that need to have the light shown on them a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Even people that are famous, but people don't know their full story, you know. And we've got some great guests coming up, and they're all okay. Yeah, and they're world class. And people that I've already got, great commitments from, people that play with groups and are established artists on their own, that everybody almost on the planet would know. So we've got that coming up, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited.
Me too now.
Yeah, and I'm excited about.
It's like,
well, you know who some of them are, but
okay. But I bet there's some I don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly. So and that's exciting, and we're going to be releasing once a week. We'll be available on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, Google Podcasts. I mean, and on all the outlets.
Alexa.
Right, and that's thanks to you, because you do a lot of the lead work for me with that, and that's the part that that I'm not particularly great at, but I appreciate all the work that you do for that. And it's exciting.
Keep the tango.
Well, yeah, and we do a lot together with the social media stuff and all that.
Yeah.
So, any parting thoughts, and actually also to tell people how they can find you and your projects?
Okay, well, I think that, or I feel from everything that we've talked about and it's shared, and this is really a podcast that I feel allows people to have quality time together. That's very important in today's world, rather than just he said this, she said that, and so on and so forth. So that's really critical from my point of view, and that's why I fully support this. My own projects, apart from this, musictribesunite.eu is the shop, or musicunites.life. Those URLs get forwarded into my main sort of shop, if you like, for that.
But those are sort of your,
just go and have a look around.
That's sort of your home base, I guess you would say, right?
Yeah, sorry, I've just my earplug fell out there. Could you say that
That's okay.
again?
Yeah, so the Music Tribes site is sort of home base for you, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then we got this. Oh God, what's the name of those two guys from the Groove Coast? You know, that they're on Jazz Tribe
Yeah, that's our
Network. Yeah,
other podcast, at the Groove Coast. Yeah, that would be me and
yeah,
John Celentano in Las Vegas.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Lovely, John, as well. So,
Yeah.
and I recommend that you know go and check that. That's www, then one word, Jazz Tribe .network. So you know a lot of people say .com, but it's actually .network.
Right.
Music Unites one word .life, or Music Tribes Unite one word .eu. Then of
And then
course
probably the easiest way they can find
here,
the podcast, yeah, the podcast aspect of that is actually on
yeah,
Spotify, right? They can just
yeah,
search
it's
for it.
all on Spotify.
Yeah.
Jazzineurope.com.
Yeah.
And the yeah, also I'm sure people will enjoy you and Dr. Roth as well, because it's so interesting what you two guys talk about.
And
So
we talk
even though
about, I mean, we
it's
talk
not
about
music,
plastic.
but it's
We talk
yeah,
about plastic surgery, but actually,
yeah,
Dr. Ross, a fascinating guy. He's
yeah,
really a
he
genius.
is.
He's really a genius guy. He's also the fight doctor for Top Rank Boxing, which is the
Yeah,
world's largest boxing promoter. So we have a lot of
yeah,
fun with that. That's just at Looking Good, Feeling Great podcast with
yeah,
Dr. Jeffrey Roth, and that, again, that's on iTunes and Spotify,
yeah.
and we'll put all those links in the episode description along with your links, so people
Yeah,
can
I
click
got.
and
I mean,
find us.
I've got other things that you know they're at various levels. So some aren't what I call right ready yet. You know,
Right.
so
Yeah.
because
But
I've
we'll update, and
a
I mean,
few.
we talked about
Yeah,
we'll update folks, but also we talked about having you're going to be a co-host for me on some of these,
yeah,
especially on the jazz side, because we you
yeah,
know a lot of those artists and those folks in that world, and I think I want to cover everything, not just rock, pop,
yeah.
jazz is great also. So thanks so much for joining me. This is my
Oh,
inaugural episode.
yes.
It was gonna be a short one, but I know whenever we talk, it's never short. As my wife can
Yeah,
attest, she hears me talking at 6 a.m, and she's going, "Oh, that must be
yeah.
what he's
Oh,
talking with Nigel."
yeah.
But
My wife Piers the same. She's going, oh, you know.
yeah, it's fun. That's good. We
But
have
then
we
she
have
does
great.
say to me, "But you're having fun." I go, "Oh yeah,
Yeah, we have great chats, and not
yeah,
just
yeah,
about music, but sort of life in general.
yeah."
And then someday we'll have you on talking about the UFO stuff, because that's another passion that we
Oh,
both have.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a whole other thing.
That's
Yeah,
a whole other thing. So,
yeah,
and also, if you guys want to find me and Music Matters, this is going to be our first episode 1, and we're going to be out of the gate. We're going to be Podbean, Spotify, and then it takes a bit to get iTunes and the others up. But definitely Spotify and iTunes will be the first up, and I'll be posting links on my social pages and all that. You can find me and Music Matters on Twitter, Instagram. Just search for Music Matters with Darrell Craig Harris. Easy to find. And thanks so much for joining us, Nigel. I know we've only
pleasure.
barely scratched the surface with you. We could probably go 3 hours, but
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, thank you so much. So you know, it genuinely is a real pleasure, and you know, I'm very supportive of what you're wanting to actualize, and that's exciting to me as well. And we need more people that to do those things, to move the music industry back into, you know, out of the shadows and back into the light again.
yeah.
But in a new way that is much more balanced in equality with the whole thing, especially for the artists.
Right.
You know, record labels and
we're not 100% agreement with that.
yeah, yeah. So you know, and who knows? You know, you never say never as they go, and miracles do happen. It's just about applying yourself and people having thought that's focused on those things in a positive outcome.
Right.
Because there is a lot of power in the power of thought.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
You know,
The power of information, for sure.
Yeah, and knowledge is king, as they say. So, you know, keep on providing that knowledge.
Yeah, trying. We're working on it together. So thanks
Yeah.
so much for everybody joining us, and please look out for episode 2 that's coming soon. And again, find us on social media. Send us your questions, definitely, or guests that are interested in appearing. Also, you can message us, and we look forward to chatting with everybody. Thanks so much, Nigel.
Thanks. You're welcome. Pleasure.
Okay. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.